Hey there, thanks for joining me. I am trying out a bit of new hardware here. So I wanted to topically cover the idea of using flows and layouts a bit more efficiently. I've been grateful to be working recently on a broad variety of styles, and some of it's been orchestral, some of it's been kind of hybrid. And so it's really pushed me to think about how I templatize things to make my workflow more efficient, especially when I'm working on several cues that have a similar style. And that's illuminated some really awesome options built into Dorico that can help me navigate. All right, so I want to talk a little bit about that, and hopefully I won't be too distracted. I do have just a handful of new techno gadgets in here that I'm getting used to using, so please be forgiving if I sound as weird or whatever. Okay, so what I've got here on my desktop, and let me bring that up for you so you can see. What I've got here on my desktop is a split view of a horn section, and at the top we have the uncondensed view, and on the bottom we have a condensed view. And this is one of the main features that I like using when I'm writing orchestrally. And quite often I'll write orchestral first, even if I'm working on a hybrid project. And what this enables me to do is really quickly analyze my voicings to understand if my voicings are appropriate and correct. And I can actually customize this on a per layout basis. So the first thing really to talk about is layouts and how I use them. So let's go over to setup here. And in setup, you'll see over here on the right-hand side that I've got an uncondensed, condensed, diary, and sandbox, these first four over here. And what these are really all about is just having a quick go-to that represents condensed and uncondensed score, a diary, and a sandbox. What is diary and sandbox? Well, you'll see down here that I have three main flows. So this is kind of the next thing. First, we have layouts that we want to think about in our template, and then flows. So I have a main flow, and this is my piece. The main flow contains my actual music, my actual project. The diary down here contains ideas which I want to use, I know I'm going to use, and I want to have them organized in a place that I can just quickly copy and paste from. The sandbox is like, okay, I've got an idea, I just want to quickly figure out how it sounds. Maybe choose an instrument. I don't want to do that in my main score because maybe I want to insert some bars, and I don't want to take the risk of making some mistake and deleting something important, things like that, right? So I want to have a number of different flows, and then each flow is connected with its own layout. So uncondensed and condensed, they both connect to my main flow. But diary only shows me the diary flow, and sandbox only shows me the sandbox flow. And then I can easily switch those up here. So when you are in the split view, you're actually looking at two at a time, and it's right here in the window menu. I'm going to go out of that, say no split for the time being. And I do have tabs enabled, so I can add tabs up here if that's a workflow that you prefer. You can always enable or disable it using this show tabs button. But what I like to do quite often is open up a couple of tabs like uncondensed and condensed, right? And then I want to go to the window menu and go down to horizontal split, and then I can see them both right here. Now, if I select one or the other, you'll notice that the tabs here illuminate. So if I select up here, the uncondensed tab illuminates. If I select down here, the condensed tab illuminates. And that sort of means that region of my split view is activated. And that means that I can switch out what I'm looking at there. So if I wanted to see, instead of on the bottom, I don't want to see my condensed, maybe I want to see my diary. Now I see my diary, right? Now, one thing that you do want to be aware of as you're working on split views and condensed and non-condensed views or uncondensed views is that you can only really condense in page view. You can't condense in galley view. So if you're sitting there trying to get your condensed view, but you also have galley view enabled for that layout, then, or for the view, then it's not going to work. It's not going to show you condensed. Let me show you how to get a condensed view that's unique. Okay, so when you go up to uncondensed here, you can go ahead and hit Command-Shift-L, and this brings up the layout options. And over here under players, you want to go down to condensing, and you either enable it or disable it. So I have it unchecked for the uncondensed view, but the condensed view, you'll see that I have it enabled. So this is nice because the layout options are specific to your layout. So you can set up even more customizations on a per layout basis, which is really super helpful. So then I will have maybe my diary. I might have my diary here, and I have an idea, a little melodic idea that I want to write out. If I wanted to go to sandbox, I could switch up here to sandbox like so. And in this way, I'm able to compartmentalize my workflow. I'm never really worried about if I'm overwriting something. I always know that my uncondensed and condensed views are readily available. I can actually use the split view to quickly copy and paste from one to the other. Let's say that I work something out in my sandbox. I really like it. I'm not going to use it now, but I want to move it to my diary. Then I can just have my diary on one of the split views, have my, sorry, I got confused there. Sandbox and diary. Got the sandbox in one, diary in the other. Just copy and paste. I'm sure you can follow me there. Anyway, I hope that this presents you with some additional insights. If you are used to using condensed views or uncondensed views, if you're used to another workflow where you're storing your ideas, maybe some other ideas related to flows, I'd love to hear how you're working with those things, because it's also something I'm working on right now, just trying to refine and get the most out of the display options so that the Dorico window can really present me with the way I think, which is sometimes there's an idea that occurs to me and I don't want to use it right now, but I want to make sure I've preserved it. Or maybe I want to try a rhythmic variation, or I want to try some different transformations, inverting things, reversing things, see how they sound together, see what some harmonic implications might be if I were to do a transformation, things like that. I want to do them very quickly, but also be able to come back to my main score knowing that I didn't mess anything up. I didn't have to rewrite or delete anything, or something have some unintended consequence, right? So a couple of things. One last thing I want to cover actually is the syncing your library. When you are working on a template, it makes a lot of sense to make sure that you've got the same playback techniques, playing techniques, different fonts that you may have set up and stuff like that. And the way to make sure you do that is in the library menu, come down to Library Manager. And I talked about this in one of my live streams maybe a month or two ago. But basically, this just shows you from this project compared to another project. You could drop a Dorico project in here if you're collaborating with someone and you want to sync them up, or you have a master project, right? Versus factory settings, you can see which elements of the current project do not match. So you can actually then import or sort of sync the settings of one Dorico project with another Dorico project. And in that way, make sure you get your fonts consistent, make sure your playback techniques, playing techniques are all consistent, that sort of thing. So that's the one last thing I wanted to mention about building out a template. And I may talk about this a bit more if templating is interesting to people. I'm all ears on other ideas, better ways to do this sort of thing, what's working, what's not. And if you're new to my channel, please do like and subscribe. I try to be on here live every Tuesday and Thursday. Summer's been a little wobbly because I have been traveling quite a bit, and lately been also slammed a bit with composing, which is a great problem to have. So I hope everyone out there is doing great, enjoying their summer still. We got a few weeks left before everybody gets going with a normal year again, and I look forward to seeing you all next week. I should be back online on Tuesday, and I'll see you then. All right. Bye for now.